Dying Light 2 got a pretty lukewarm reception at launch because its story just didn't live up to the hype. With the new upcoming DLC though, it seems like Techland is ready to set things straight again. But is a narrative expansion enough to revive the survival horror game? Well, strap in and keep watching because we're diving straight into it. First up, Dying Light 2's DLC will run parallel to the main story. If you didn't vibe with the Dying Light 2's, then be prepared to jump back into the wasteland. The upcoming story DLC for the game is all about subverting expectations, and according to lead designer Timon Smektala, it's gonna positively surprise you. Speaking to WCCF Tech, he admitted that maybe their main story failed to deliver on all the promises they'd made, but at the same time, he emphasized that the fundamentals were still spot on, and they've got this massive sprawling open world all ready to go for more adventures. So, over the past 4 months, the team at Techland has been hard at work to deliver a much more compelling and fleshed out narrative experience. Of course, whenever you think of a story DLC in games, it's usually endgame content that isn't actually impactful on the grand scheme of things. Dying Light 2, however, is going to take a different approach and build this story in parallel to the main plot. What does that mean? Well, it means that even if you haven't finished the game yet, you can still head straight into the expansion content. Explaining this new approach, Smektala said that this story is centered around a specific place outside of the Villador limits, and you can start it right after Aiden enters the city. Now, if you remember, Dying Light 2's whole shtick, with its evolving world and dialogue choices, revolves around the cityscape. So does this mean that we won't get the same diverging paths here? Well, according to the lead designer, all of those mechanics will still be here. We're not quite sure how they'd work though. With that said, this is exactly what the game needed. And guess what? The internet has been trying to speculate on what exactly this new story could be. However, Smektala confirmed that none of the fan theories are accurate, which means that we're in for a true surprise. Next, we have potential multiplayer modes coming to Dying Light 2. Story content isn't the only new thing coming to Dying Light 2. The game's campaign had a lot of potential for co-op multiplayer modes. Like, imagine parkouring through the city and slaying zombies with your friends. Doesn't that sound incredible? Of course it does, and Techland seems to have the same idea. In fact, the team's already started work on some of the more online-focused parts of the game, including co-op and other gameplay modes. Who knows, maybe the survival horror adventure will turn into a full-fledged multiplayer game with deathmatch and other team-based modes. Or, if you really want to weigh into the crazy speculation, a battle royale mode in this open world would be pretty sweet as well. And now, don't expect the DLC anytime soon. When Techland initially announced all the downloadable content for its game, we got a release window of June 2022. Over the past few months, however, it's become clear that the team just can't deliver that, as they've barely been pushing out other performance patches. Until now, the only new things we've actually gotten for Dying Light 2 have been a new Game Plus mode, an FOV slider on consoles, and some cosmetic stuff. The situation was already looking dire to begin with, and no one really expected them to hit their target. Besides, they didn't even have any trailer or gameplay footage for the new DLC, which was just mere weeks away. So, as expected, we've got a delay on our hands. And now, the new story content for Dying Light 2 will release in September, which, to be fair, isn't a packed month anyway. In their official statement, Techland apologized to the fans for the delay and said that they just need more time to polish this experience. And honestly, after the buggy mess we got at launch, it's good that the dev team isn't taking any chances for their one shot at redemption. Can a story DLC fix Dying Light 2's issues? When Dying Light 2 came back in early February, it had the perfect cushion around it. More significant releases like Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West were still weeks away, meaning that Techland's game got all the attention in the world. However, it kind of failed to capitalize on that opportunity, and within a week, people had already stopped talking about it. Now, it wasn't that the game was inherently bad or anything. As a matter of fact, it was a pretty decent experience, and even got good reviews. Everything from the gameplay to the open world was stellar. The story, on the other hand, was such a letdown that it soured everyone's feelings toward the game. So it was clear from the start that if Dying Light 2 could have done better in the narrative department, it would have been much more successful. With this new upcoming story DLC, the devs are looking to redeem themselves. Sadly though, that ship may have already sailed, as it's just been too long since the game has been out. You see, while we love comeback stories, they rarely happen to a game of this ilk. No Man's Sky, Destiny, Final Fantasy XIV, we've got so many examples of devs pulling it out of the bag years after its initial release. But the difference between those games and Dying Light 2 is the fact that it's just not a fully functional live service game. These days, people don't tend to buy extra DLC for something they didn't love in the first place. Plus, Techland has plenty of other issues to deal with already, as the optimization is still horrendous on both PC and consoles. There's a solution though. The devs can put get Dying Light 2 on Game Pass or PS Plus Premium. Not only would that introduce a whole new audience to it, but it'd also breathe new life into the game. Obviously, bringing something to a subscription service has its own set of hurdles, but at this point, that seems like the only way out. Next, in other news, Saints Row gets a new preview showcase. After the disappointment of Saints Row 4, Volition decided to go back to its roots and reboot the franchise. However, this new direction for the game hasn't exactly gained much hype either. All of that's about to change though, as a new behind-closed-doors preview shows exactly why everyone loved the series in the first place. This new showcase was presented to the press only, but we expect it to release publicly around E3 time. It was pretty long and detailed though, showing free roam gameplay, combat, cutscenes, and the customization. How was it? Well, it's Saints Row, so we've got the same insane, over-the-top gameplay and a lot of chaos. The customization system is super detailed and wacky as always, but the biggest surprise comes on the narrative side of things. In the past, good stories haven't really been the strong suit of Saints Row games. This time around though, Volition seems to have cracked the code as the writing feels much more coherent. The only issue? It's still kind of a buggy mess and just doesn't feel polished enough. But of course, this is only a preview build, so they could easily patch that stuff by the time it comes out in August. Arma Reforger comes to PC and Xbox. The Arma franchise has been super influential for the games industry over the past couple of decades. Not only is it a fantastic military sim, but it's also the birthplace of the battle royale genre, so people are always going to be hyped for the next entry, Arma 4. However, Bohemia Interactive surprised everyone during its reveal by showing off another game, Arma Reforger. Acting as a bridge to Arma 4, Reforger will display the company's latest Infusion engine with its stunning visuals and modding capabilities. Players will get to choose between two multiplayer modes, Conflict and Game Master, with the latter focusing on community-created content. In fact, you can even head to the workshop and download narratives and models that other players have built. Oh, and it's out right now on Xbox and PC, making it the first Arma game to come to console. Final Fantasy VII Remake news is imminent. The first part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake has been out for a couple of years now, so fans are itching to get any morsel of news about what's next. Thankfully though, Square has finally broken its radio silence regarding the game, as director Tetsuya Nomura revealed that they'd be talking about the game soon. Speaking during the First Soldier livestream, he said that fans can expect some super exciting news about the sequel during the upcoming 25th anniversary celebrations. Now, Square doesn't typically do big reveals during the anniversary events, so this is definitely new territory. However, we've also got Summer Games Fest and a potential Sony showcase next month, and the game could definitely show up there instead. Of course, this isn't the only Final Fantasy game in development, as we're inching closer to a Final Fantasy XVI showcase soon as well. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think we'll see both Final Fantasy VII Remake and 16 during a mega showcase next month? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.